Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episodes 1 and 2 of FX's Dave. These two episodes are titled Texas and Harrison Avenue, respectively. These two episode titles are actually, it seems like they're just based on the settings for each of the episodes. Episode 1 is set in Texas, Episode 2 is set on Harrison Avenue, which is a street apparently in Philadelphia that Dave grew up on. But I want to start talking about this show because, man, I'm so excited it's back. If you guys were here on this channel in 2021, you know how much I love this show. And then also, you know, this show is really what, I can't say like set my channel off because I'm still a fucking nobody, but like it made me, it took me from a complete and total unknown to slightly less than that, slightly less than that, but it had a significant impact. This was a show where I started seeing some real views on my channel. I started seeing some real increases in my subscribers. My video for the finale of Season 2 is still to date, I think, my second most played video in the history of the channel. Collectively, I didn't do Season 1. Excuse me, the channel didn't exist when Season 1 was on, but I did all 10 episodes for Season 2, and those 10 episodes collectively, I think, are like the second highest collective group of episodes for a show that I've covered, you know, for a season or more. So like this is a show that is close to my heart as a fan of the show, but also just as a, I feel like a douche calling myself a content creator, but I mean, what the fuck, I mean, this is exactly what I'm doing. As a content creator, it's close to my heart as well, because I'm no matter where this goes, if I become some big fucking star one day, I will always remember the fact that this show, the second season of this show, is what kind of started moving this channel in a direction that made me think it could go somewhere. So it's always gonna have a nice place in my heart. So I love this show, but and not just like, oh, I love this show, like, oh, it has a close place in my heart. It's a great fucking show. Like, this was my top show of 2021 up until The Bear came out, and then it was like, well, that's that. But like, I don't think it got moved. I think the number 2 or something like that. Wasn't even The Bear. I don't even think it was The Bear. The Bear was 2022, right? It might have been whatever year it was. It got supplanted by either The Bear or Succession was like number 1, something like that. But this was number 1 for like most of the year, and deservedly so. You know, last season's theme seemed to revolve around Dave's narcissism and how he alienated his friends, and he had to work to win them back, and it culminated in that wonderful moment where he performs with Gaeta in the finale. And I love last season because, you know, in addition to finding new and creative ways to be funny, they took some chances, you know, and that's what I liked about this show too, is it wasn't just, you know, it got compared to Atlanta all the time, but like, it took its own chances too, and to its credit, when this show has taken chances, it has done well. And, you know, that Rick Rubin episode was really good last year. And I just felt they built a season-long story arc that they played out over the course of the season. It showed Dave's evolution as it pertained to how fame it kind of corrupted him and how he behaved among the people who were always there for him even before he was famous and who helped him become famous. And I just thought they did a really good job of just playing out that story arc, right? Those first few episodes, just like these first few, I think too, these first couple, they seemed like they were good. They got you, back into the world, reacclimated to the characters, and they were fun. But it wasn't just like, oh, these are great episodes, but they were building blocks, right? You look at some of those early episodes of season 2, and you see how they played into building the picture that was Dave's narcissism over the course of that season, and they fit into the bigger picture a little bit better when you look at the season as a whole. And I think it's pretty clear now this season is probably structuring itself the same way, and that its theme is going to be love. We spend a few episodes learning why Dave feels the way he does. I'm saying we might spend a few episodes. This is like the same way season 2 started off, kind of like, oh, here's a few examples of how Dave's alienating his friends. Like, we're probably going to start off with a few episodes learning why Dave feels the way he does about sex and love and relationships, as well as seeing like how his present day fame inhibits his ability to find like actual real true love and make real connections in a real way, how his fame now inhibits that. And he may end up meeting someone, having some struggles, learning a lesson, finding love. I don't know what they have planned. I still think probably he ends up with Allie long term. That's her name, right? Allie, for his main girl of season 1. I still think that's where he both needs to be and will end up. But we'll see. But for now, let's talk about these first 2 episodes real quick. I don't want to get into it too much. And again, they're only 30-minute episodes. They're mostly laughs. So these videos aren't going to be the 30-minute extravaganzas that my Yellow Jackets and Succession videos are. These will probably run like 15 or something like that. But, we'll talk about some of the gags, and we'll talk about where I feel like the episode fits into what I think this theme of love is going to be, where that episode fits in, and what part I think it's going to play, and how good of a job I think it did doing what I think it's trying to do. A whole lot of me making a lot of fucking guesses, but, I still don't consider myself to be goddamn, New York Times or Rolling Stone or some shit. I'm just a motherfucker just sitting in front of a camera talking. Anyway, so for starters, the humor's still here. I love the opening scene to episode 1 with the song that was playing during the random sexual encounter that opened up the season. I love how the song was its funniest during the actual sex part of that whole opening sequence, just because like the sex scene is generally the part where the actors are going to feel the most uncomfortable, probably. The viewers are going to be looking like they're going to be looking to see body parts, or they're going to be watching with someone and pretending like not locking eyes because it's uncomfortable to watch other people fuck when you got other people in the room. And he takes that moment to like lay it up against the funniest vocals. So it's like, it makes what would be probably generally a weird moment, and he takes it and makes it cool by making it, and now I say cool, not like cool, like groovy, like the Fonz. I'm old as fuck. But like cool, makes it okay by making it goofy. Like the lyrics are the funniest at that part. They've got him doing all these random positions where, and I think he's like really hamming it up. Like he's got his leg up, fucking like all kinds of weird shit. And I just appreciate the fact that they could take something like that and make it okay for everybody. Like that was probably funny for them to perform. It was probably funny for the people there to watch. Like, taking something that's uncomfortable and making it cool and fun. The song for the whole second episode I thought was funny too. I think the music stuff for this show is always really good. Like when he's making the jokey songs, they're always funny but still got bars. And then when he's really trying to spit, he's really got bars. So music stuff's always great. The fan who made Dave the bust, that scene was fucking incredible. Like the way she like touched his face and then made him touch hers. Like you don't get that kind of comedy, like that subtle kind of shit. You don't get that in too many places. Like that was great. I love what she said. I love peanuts so much. Because one, that's just a funny sentence just coming from her just saying it. Because she even looked like somebody who would have just said penis naturally. Like that's just how she talks. But I loved that album title name from Jump. Like, and it's on record. The first time penis is mentioned in the show, there's a video of me talking about how great I think that name is. I love that fucking name from Jump. But I'm so glad that confirmed for me that he was successfully able to put out an album with that title, and it popped off and it became a big deal. And it's like, wow, Peanut really worked, huh? But they did a lot of word stuff here. They do a lot of word stuff here, but they did a lot of word stuff in these first 2 episodes, and that's another thing. another reason why this show connects with me so much, because I'm a fucking word guy. So if you make jokes that have to do with words and shit like that, it's always gonna be funny to me, or unfortunately, if they're bad, I'm gonna nitpick the fuck out of it. But like, you know, the group here, they've started doing a lot of abbreviating, shortening of words. I think Mike said veloc or something, shortened like velocity, like random things like that where you randomly shorten words that are long and it's like there's no real rhyme or reason to it. That's gonna be funny. They're making random acronyms of stuff where it's like I'm watching like, wait, what? And I gotta like take a second to figure it out. So like they're doing a lot of that this season, I've noticed, which is, like I said, for me, it's good, it's funny, it's random. I like it. I like words. It could be one of those things where some people might miss it just because it's gonna be, I don't know, easy to miss. It's also easier for me to catch because I watched the show with the closed captioning on. So like when that drunk guy at that girl Campbell's house in episode 1, he's like, "You like Ram?" Like the first time he said something, the caption said something like unintelligible or something like that. Then the second time he says, "You like Ram," and it still sounded kind of just like Ram, like you can't really hear. And then Dave's like, "You mean like the processing power?" like that kind of shit. That's always gonna make me laugh. Like, I don't know why. Because that was the thought that I had when he said, "You like RAM?" I'm like, 8 gig or 16. Like, I'm like, that was my thought. Like that. So he went the same place with it that I would have went, and I just thought that was funny. Individually, I think I was a bit more impressed with the first episode than the second one. You know, on the surface, it feels like the usual type of random encounters that we're accustomed to seeing Dave encounter throughout the course of this show. But what I really liked about the first one is that it gave a unique and rarely discussed look at how difficult it must be to find love when you're famous. Now, far be it for me to sing the "How Hard It Must Be to Be Rich and Famous" song, because, you know, I ain't got no sympathy for the motherfuckers. But the way this episode played out with Campbell, I thought was actually pretty sad. Like, you know, Dave really wants to find love. He's forced to face the fact that a girl he really started to like was just a super fan with the knowledge of how to manipulate him. And that's got to be a really shitty part of being famous, especially if you're looking to find love. You know, people can read all your interviews and know all these things about you that you probably don't even think about because you're just not accustomed to people having that level of access to you. You probably don't think about there's people who know things that I just don't tell a lot of people. And you don't think about the fact you only told the one guy. It just happened to be a guy from Vanity Fair. And now everybody knows this deep personal thing about you. And that's the kind of thing we as regular motherfuckers walking around on the street, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about that. Like, there's things that I know that only I know or that the people close to me know. And there's not going to be people who have so much knowledge of me, strangers, that I don't know at all, but who have so much knowledge of me that they can walk up to me and like just be the person that they know will endear themselves to me. And that's gotta be, like you have to, if you're a famous person, you essentially gotta train yourself up for that kind of shit. For knowing that people are gonna know essentially what is in your head. Like, just, like I said, Dave's like, how, what do you mean? She said she didn't even know who I was. And, oh, I don't know who you are. I'm a nurse. I have a goat. Like all of these things, you just make herself sound down to earth. Like that's got to be crazy to have to train yourself up to look for that kind of shit. And that's got to be really sad for when you're desperate to find a connection. You think you found it. And it's like, no, this motherfucker just read your fucking Vanity Fair piece and knows everything there is to know about you and use that to manipulate you. To me, that's just really fucking sad. And that's why this episode, I think, was a little bit better for me than the second one. But, the second one plays out an interesting story that, when I thought of it, like while I was watching it, I felt one way about it. And then when I was composing my notes, I felt a different way. So the second episode plays out a story about Dave's youth via this music video. And it's about how he ended up essentially in the friend zone with this girl that he was in love with. But he kind of worked his way up to being able to go to prom with her. But then she still ditched him because the guy that she was originally supposed to go with ended up feeling better and popped up. And the girl who the video is based on shows up at the shoot because the shoot's taking place at the house he grew up in on Harrison Avenue, where the episode title is from. And she ends up in Philly, and she just pops up, right? And he ends up using her to play herself in the video because he was having trouble with getting the kids to do the things that he wanted them to do. Because originally it was framed up against, it had kids playing him because he was a kid at the time. Well, while this was still an enjoyable episode, and I understand we need this context from Dave's past to understand why he views relationships the way he does now, This one didn't quite land for me because it still kind of felt like the point became about Dave's narcissism again. Like the purpose of the final argument with Brittany at the end, it felt like it was to show that Dave was so focused on himself, he didn't consider her perspective in this story, even though she's an equal participant to him. And I don't mind that angle necessarily, but I don't like it how they played her out to be a victim of Dave, kind of. It's like, I'm not saying I mind that she was the victim. I mind how they got us there. It's like, if she just happened to stumble by or just showed up at the shoot and is like, hey, wait a minute, this looks familiar. Is this based on that time we did this thing? You know, like kind of stumbles on it and then realizes like, holy shit, this is about me. What is this? And then she goes like, wait a minute, you're making a whole thing about me and us and you didn't consult me. And she gets indignant right then and just realizing he made a video about her. Then I could kind of be like, okay, I get that. But she came up there acting, she was kind of like an asshole to him at first. And then she asked to be in the video. She's like, where's my cameo? She made it sound like I came up here to see a friend and got thrown in this video about my life as if she didn't come up there and ask to do it. And it kind of came off to me, especially following the episode 1 about Campbell, like she was probably just up in there trying to like, oh, I used to date him. Let me see if I can roll up to the video shoot and get some shine. But then when I was making my notes in retrospect, I'm writing out the concept of her going up there and not her going up there with the wrong intentions. And I think that was kind of colored by the fact that that's what Campbell was doing in the first episode. So now I'm kind of doing what Dave was doing. I'm just looking at it through Dave's lens, right? He made a video and she showed up, she forced her way in and then complained about being in it. And I'm like, come on. But maybe it was her doing exactly what I said they should have done, which was her arriving, realizing a story was being told about her without her involvement or consent, and wanted to see what was going on. Not just like, oh, I'm inviting myself to the video shoot. It was probably more like, hey, wait a minute, you're telling a story about when we dated, and not only am I not here, not only did you not ask me or you didn't even tell me. So it's an interesting story about perspectives, I think. And it's my perspective on the episode, everybody's perspective on everything. So yeah, I still think the first episode is more compelling, but I see what they're setting up. You know, like I said, the season feels very much like season 2. Starting off, I don't want to say slow, but, you know, getting these building blocks in place to tell this overarching story about love. At least, again, I'm guessing that's where they're going. I mean, it's the themes all over the posters and everything, the artwork. But people were complaining at this point last season, and then Dave ended up on a whole lot of best of the year lists, didn't it? So I'm curious how people are going to feel about these first 2. If they do essentially frame this season the same as the last one, just about love, I hope they continue to take some risks. I hope they push the envelope, and if so, we should be in for another good season. So I want to close out with a couple of quick thoughts. I remember wondering when they said it, what the fuck is a scroll guard? So since I didn't, I was glad they explained it, but upset that I had to see it. But here's the thing, though. Dave, Lil Dicky, whatever we want to call him, this guy really has no fucking trepidation when it comes to showcasing his body as awkwardly and uncomfortably for himself and everyone else in the room as possible. And I don't hate him for it. I don't hate him for it. And I still often wonder how much of what we see on this show is true. Like for real. Like, is any of it true? Is all of it true? Is some of it true but exaggerated? Like the stuff about his dick. Like, is that true? Like I don't know. Only people who have seen his dick, like literally only people who have seen his dick and his parents know if that's true. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it might be true. Like, I think he's even said it in interviews, but I'm still just like, he could just be really leaning into the character. I don't know. But like the events of episode 2, this whole thing with this Britney girl, like this whole story was falling in love with her in that fucking cum machine and covered in his pants with a soft dick. Like, is that like based on truth and exaggerated for comedy? Or is that really what happened? Because he comes off to me, he's either really dedicated to playing this character, or he comes off as the kind of guy that this kind of shit could happen to. So I'm like really curious how much of this stuff is true. But anyway, that's all I got. I hope these videos perform as well as the season 2 videos did, because like we've been lagging a little bit. I could stand to get some views. So share my shit if you fuck with me. I will be covering this season regardless of what happens, because I fucking love this show. And like I said, it's always gonna be close to my heart. I'm always gonna have the hope that a video for Dave is gonna help this channel take off. And then I can always look back and if I get famous, give some shout out to fucking Lil Dicky. Like, Lil Dicky helped me get on. Pause. So that's how I'll wrap up, and I'll see you guys next week for episode 3. Until then, peace.